Good morning, Facebook family, YouTube family, and friends. So I want to say good morning, give you maybe a little bit of encouragement on this another day that we're spending on house arrest. So this morning is my dog's Castle. If you guys follow me on Facebook or Instagram, or even him on Instagram, you see that he's 2 years old today. But this morning I took him to the park, just came out for a walk, and every time I go, I kind of spend some time with God, and I started singing that song, "Your Grace is Enough," and it really is. And I start thinking about all those times where I have the enemy telling me, "Man, you don't belong here. You don't have anything to say to these people." And you think as a pastor who's about to go out to teach, about to jump on stage and give a message, he'd feel confident and courageous about what he's going to talk about. But sometimes when I step up, I almost have to talk to myself literally out loud to drown out that voice that's inside me telling me I don't have what it takes. Have you ever stopped short of God's calling on your life because you felt almost paralyzed by your limitations and insecurities? I think we often excuse ourselves from God's greater vision because we don't believe we have enough for God to work with. Maybe it's our insufficient experience, lack of resources, lackluster training, awkward social skills. Maybe it's a busted up marriage or a job we're sure is meaningless. Unfortunately, one of the enemy's most effective strategies is to fill our minds with thoughts about what we don't have and all the ways we fall short. But when we focus on what we lack, it can keep us from realizing what we have is more than enough for God. You see, God has a history of using what little someone has in order to do great things that only He can do. When I hear that voice reminding me of my shortcomings and limitations, I've decided to say, "You're right." But my greatest limitation is God's greatest opportunity. And that's how we should all look at it. All throughout Scripture, God has shown this to be true time and time again. When calling Moses to lead the Israelites out of slavery from the Egyptians, God simply asked him, "What do you have in your hand?" It was just a staff, a common tool used for common work or for a common purpose. But God used it for something greater, transforming it into an extraordinary tool for the extraordinary purpose of turning the Nile into blood and parting the Red Sea. When feeding the 5,000, Jesus didn't send the disciples out to buy McDonald's or In-N-Out. He simply asked, "How many loaves do you have?" 5 loaves and 2 fishes were more than enough. When the prophet Elisha was approached by the desperate widow in 2 Kings 4:1 through 7, he simply asked her, "Tell me, what do you have in your house?" And she said she had nothing at all except a small jar of olive oil. It turns out one jar of oil isn't a bad place to start. God supernaturally multiplied that one jar of oil until she had enough to pay her debts and live with her sons on what she had left. So how did these miracles start? They started with something that seemed to amount to nothing. These examples remind us that we need to take inventory of what's right in front of us. Use that. Be obedient right there. Start saying yes to God right where you're at instead of focusing on your limitations and insecurities and saying, I can't. Start praying, "God, use what I have. Take little I have and make it overflow." Indeed, your greatest limitation is God's greatest opportunity. Amen? So maybe sit on that today, meditate on that, and just use that to see what God's going to do at this point of your life right now. Love you guys. Remember, you're highly favored, deeply loved, and greatly blessed. I'll see you guys later.